It's an absolute honor to be here talking to you on a stage shared with Phoenix and Arbitrum. And I walked in and saw Blueberry up here and thought, okay, he's talking about stable coins, and then there's been somebody else talking about stable coins. So you may see things that has a little bit of overlap because there's only so much story we can tell about stable coins. But all right, so it's full screen on my screen. Looks like we're in presenter mode on this screen here. Can we get this to full screen? Because I don't have notes. Although it really doesn't matter. So look at the little one over to the left here. This is kind of my bold claim so that they would allow me to come up here and talk. I think Ethereum and the Ethereum ecosystem and EVM is going to be critical if we're going to save the US dollar, and I mean the big US dollar. A little bit about me, who I am. I am a lot of different roles over my lifetime. I sold a screenplay with my wife to Adam Sandler. Might be the only one up here who can say that. Helped recovery efforts at Ground Zero after 9/11. Sold wallstreet.com domain name for $1 million. Should I do something? Oh, so it's me. Looked good over here. That was crazy. I have an identical twin who I shot. Another probably only person that can say that. I used to mine Ethereum when it was proof of work, and Bitcoin, which is still proof of work. And I am the editor of Stansberry Research's newsletter called Crypto Capital, and also Stansberry Innovations Report. And I am the author of a book called America versus Americans, How Capitalism Has Failed a Capitalist Nation and What We Can Do About It. And apparently I operate on a laptop that is difficult to work with because this guy seems to know his shit and my laptop is giving him trouble. Sorry about that. I get hold of the laptop and turn it around. I'm just gonna keep going. Okay, it's not on screen though. Awesome, so hit me into slideshow and we'll be good. Well, we tried. I got 16 minutes. Let's get through this. Okay. I'm Eric Wade. Oh, I went too fast. First off, when I say if the dollar is to survive, I'm not talking about stable coins. I'm not worried about stable coins. Yes, I do know that the US dollar has lost 97% of its value since 1913. So it seems a little... maybe a little late to come up here and say if the dollar is to survive, right? You might have seen this slide earlier with Flatcoin. And I know it's really hard to get in this day and age when we're looking forward into the future and we're here talking about blockchain and cryptocurrency technology. It's hard sometimes to get people to give a darn about 1913. But I think maybe we could reverse that trend, that 110-year trend of the dollar losing value. And again, I want to reiterate, it's not stable coins that need to be saved, it's the US dollar. Stable coins, even though they're difficult, even though there's multiple wallets, multiple exchanges, problematic for people to get their money on and off, even though they're not FDIC or NCUA or SIPC backed, even though there's fees to buy and sell and move them, it may or may not be backed by assets at all. I don't know what's going on, but we'll just keep going. Hey, look, you guys can read ahead at the bottom if you've got really good vision. And stablecoins aren't in your bank account. So those are all the negatives about stablecoins, but we all know there's about $135 billion in stablecoins right now. So obviously our market likes stablecoins. In fact, I have too many clicks in here. Remember that $135 billion number for later. Stable coins are a big part, in my mind, of saving the US dollar. It's not what backs stable coins that concerns me. There were people up here talking about different backings for different stable coins. I'm not that worried about it as much as I'm worried about what backs the US dollar that I'm worried about right now, today, for our presentation. Because if the US dollar or the team behind the US dollar was a DAO, I don't think any of us would touch it, would we? Because they don't know what they're talking about. They don't know what they're doing. Here's a great example of our leaders at work. Tesla literally lowering the price of their cars so they can qualify for tax credits that our US dollar DAO team was in charge of. That sounds like failure to me. Corporate debt defaults surging. Here's a nice one about, I can't read that. I'm going to go back to my screen here. Banks tightening standards for commercial and industrial loans, shooting up. Bank rate U.S. 30-year mortgage national average, shooting up. This is the economy that we're all being subjected to, right? Retail money market funds are really rising, and that usually rises before a recession. We haven't gotten the recession yet, but job openings dropping. These are the people that are in charge of our money, right? Default rates rising. Percentage of the population living below the poverty line. You can see why I'm worried about what backs the US dollar, right? Countries around the world with the best educational system, not America. I'm not an anti-American, I promise you that. Federal debt, rising and never stopping. Federal government current expenditures. These are the interest rate payments on our federal debt. You can see why I'm worried about what backs the US dollar, right? This is credit default swaps. The fact that there's a possibility that the U.S. could default on their credit and it's more than zero should shock everybody. So this is what I'm worried about. So we have three choices. Obviously, I wrote a book that I say fixes all of that. So you can all run out and buy my book and start pushing for low tax, hard dollar, free unlimited lifetime education. Yeah, those three all work together in my mind, in my book. It's called America versus Americans. That's one of our three choices, so how we can survive this. Another choice is we can start using ETH for everything. Just start spending it like it's cash. Flat Money asked, do we think ETH is money? Well, it could be. We could use ETH as money. We know it's volatile, but it is hard money, right? You guys probably recognize this from ultrasound.money, that ETH is actually going down. So, in supply. So we could make it into ETH if we wanted to. Or we could tokenize everything. And by we, I mean everybody here who came to this can start thinking in terms of tokenizing literally everything. We could unlock quadrillions of dollars of real-world assets. There's a reason why you hear about real-world assets so much. That's because it's potent. We could start using and building dollars that are backed by assets. So that's something that we've heard about a couple of times on this stage today, right? In fact, as far as tokenization goes, the first mover was the US dollar. Remember I said there was $135 billion in dollar stable coins right now. You might be surprised to know that the entire supply of US dollars in 1980 in circulation was only $120 billion. So the point I'm trying to make with that is we already have as much dollars on chain right now as what it took to run the American economy in 1980. We're not that far behind. I get it. 1980, some of you think, oh, wow, 1980, different world. Yeah, absolutely it was a different world. We didn't have TikTok. We didn't have the internet. We didn't have cryptos. But we ran the entire country off of $120 billion in US dollars in circulation. So we're not that far behind. So, hey, what would happen if we built an asset-backed stablecoin that everyone could swap their unbacked dollars into? Could we change the world? Our real-world assets are moving on chain. We have gold on chain already. We have diamonds on chain already. We have real estate on chain already. We have treasuries $845 million worth of tokenized treasuries already. Stocks moving on-chain and derivatives. Is this blurry to you guys? Because it's blurry to me, maybe because I'm so close. If that was hard to read, I'm sorry. Someday I think we're going to tokenize everything. I'm in that camp. I agree that we're going to tokenize everything. So the next step for saving the US dollar could be only use currencies that are backed by assets, that are provable assets. We only need to tokenize $6.7 trillion worth of dollars to catch up with the real M2 money supply. Then we retire that whole full faith and credit line that everybody talks about with the US dollar, that the dollar is backed by the full faith and credit of the United States, and my clicker is not clicking anymore. There we go. We can do that. Once we make all of America's assets publicly owned and trackable, those real world assets that I'm talking about, we could back our dollars with them, and we can then start saying that the dollar is backed by hard assets owned by the United States of America. I'm saying if we take the initiative to start that process ourselves, then the dollars themselves will stabilize. Has anybody else seen this chart before? It's hard to read, but it starts at 1970. This is 1970. So you can imagine what it is, right? Everybody knows what happened in 1971. That's not a crypto, that's the dollar index. It's been very unstable. That's how much we believe in our full faith and credit of the US dollar. That blue arrow, 1970. 1970, 71. Okay, so what am I here? What am I trying to get across to you? It makes sense that moving the US dollar back to being backed by assets, that makes sense. We haven't had an asset-backed dollar since 1971, right? Could be made possible by blockchain, by tokenizing America's real-world assets. I believe in that. I believe we should do that. We could save the dollar. We could use the technology that we all came here to learn about, that we all like, that we all use, to literally save the dollar. And that could put us back towards America returning to constrained spending, because a hard dollar is psychologically difficult to waste. Nobody wants to waste a hard dollar as much as they want to waste a dollar that's always going down in value. And possibly America could reverse the possibility of losing the dollar as the world's reserve currency. So yeah, I'm a macro guy, obviously, right? And maybe avoid US dollar hyperinflation, which none of us want. So we can make it possible, save the dollar, if we start to work with stablecoins backed by provable real world assets. That's not all it takes, but that'd be a good start. As if you have a choice of what stablecoin you want to hold as you're trading in and out of something, look for the one that's backed by provable real-world assets. So obviously, I'm not dumb enough to say that if we start this, the U.S. Treasury is going to start changing their policies just because we made it possible for them to do so. But we should make it possible to do so. If we build if we lead the effort, then we can make the dollar ultrasound money as well. And I believe that's possible. And I guess I spoke a little quickly even after that slow start. I'd like us to start thinking about the first $1 trillion stablecoin. Just that concept, that idea that I get it. Bitcoin, $1 trillion, it's been there before and then lost it. And we're not there yet. Tether, 100 billion, I think, right? I could be right, I could be wrong about Tether, plus or minus $1 billion. Tether's 100 billion. I'm not saying Tether needs to be the first $1 trillion stablecoin, but what kind of a world would we live in if we built something that drew $1 trillion into an on-chain, real-world asset, blockchain-powered $1 trillion stablecoin? That's the kind of world that I want to live in. That's what I'm hoping maybe that we have the energy to accomplish between now and the next time we come back here next year. So I'm Eric Wade with Stansberry Research, and that's what I wanted to get you guys to think about. So I am done early. Thank you. Thank you.